Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our topic for today is
The organism which we're going to discuss today is Escherichia coli. Look rod as shown by the pink band over it, and it is a facultative anaerobe. Now, this organism commonly lives in the colon as well as in the feces. Another thing about this which will make this diagram a little bit curious, that why is this glass present over here? This shows that this organism is actually a lactose fermenter, meaning that it can ferment this polysaccharide. It possesses three antigens. These three antigens causes various type of different diseases itself in the human body, like the O antigen, which is present in the cell wall of this organism, results in UTI. Now, UTI is also, as you know, that this organism lives in the colon as well as in the feces. So it's it's an easy thing how this infection can reinfect the human body. So this organism basically ascends from the colon or from the feces into the urethra and into the bladder, resulting in cystitis. Another antigen is the K capsule antigen, depicted by the letter or the alphabet K. Now, this antigen is most prevalent and it causes neonatal meningitis. Also is the leading cause of neonatal meningitis apart from Neisseria gonorrhea, which occurs in infants. Now, the last thing which this organism causes is diarrhea, but this can also be due to the O antigen as well as the H flagella antigen, which helps in its motility. It manifests in a triad of a disease, like it causes three types of different diseases respective to their antigen present on them. The first one is diarrhea. Now, this type of diarrhea can both be watery or hemorrhagic. Hemorrhagic depending upon its serotype. Next is UTI, which we know is caused by the cell wall O antigen. And lastly is the systemic infections. Systemic infections being bacteremia and neonatal meningitis. See that this caused by E. coli. Now, before talking about diarrhea, we need to know that E. coli is already inhabitant of the large colon. So why does not it causes diarrhea in that respective place? The answer is simple. The colon lacks any receptors for this organism. Hence, there is no persistent diarrhea in human body. Now, whenever this organism enters the body, it attaches to the enterocytes by pili, as you can see in these small lines coming out of the organism itself. Now, the attachment of the organism to the enterocyte does not cause the disease, but the disease is caused by secretion of toxins. Now, this organism secretes two types of endotoxin. As you know, gram-negative organisms secretes endotoxin. Now, the first endotoxin shown by the red line is heat labile toxin, means that it can be destroyed by heat. Now, this toxin attaches to the receptors which are present in the jejunum and the ileum. Now, when these receptors bind to this respective area, it causes a cascade of reaction inside the enterocytes, resulting in an increase in cyclic GMP in heat stable endotoxin and cyclic AMP by heat labile toxin. Now, this cascade of reaction results in excretion of large amount of fluid from the cells, which results in watery diarrhea. By E. coli is of two various types, watery and hemorrhagic. Watery indicating that the organism does not penetrate the intestinal mucosa, resulting in only stimulation of enterocytes, which results in watery diarrhea. Hemorrhagic itself meaning the organism has penetrated and caused resultant inflammation of the mucosa, which results in bleeding from that mucosa, resulting in hemorrhagic diarrhea. Now, hemorrhagic diarrhea is caused only by certain strains of E. coli, which includes O157, which is more prevalent one, and it also is associated with hemolytic anemia or hemolytic uremic syndrome, or also known as hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now, this syndrome or this disease is caused by E. coli strain number 0157. Now, what this 157 does is it produces exotoxin, which is also known as Shiga toxin. Now, this toxin produced by this organism helps to remove or kick 28 subunit of ribosomal RNA, which results in protein synthesis. If no protein is formed, this would result in immediate cell death. Now, these Shiga toxins are present on the endothelium of small vessels. Now, when the endothelium of these will die off, these vessels will become distorted. Hence, this disease manifests in a triad of disorders. The first one being hemolytic anemia. Now, this anemia is caused when RBCs pass through these damaged blood vessels. When RBCs pass through the shape of the RBCs become distorted, and when it is engulfed by the spleen, it is automatically destroyed, results in anemia as well as thrombocytopenia. So another disease caused by this syndrome is thrombocytopenia. Which can result in many bleeding disorders. The last thing that this toxin causes is acute kidney failure. The pathway is again very simple, that the receptors are present on the small blood vessels of the epithelium, which results in death of the epithelium that leads to deprivement of kidney of its blood supply, resulting in it to quickly die off. Now, this type of strain is acquired by the human body by eating undercooked food such as fast food or visit to farms and zoos. UTI caused by E. coli is by repopulation of this organism from their respective colon or by fecal route again into the urethra. Now, this organism makes its way and attaches to the specific receptors present on the urethra, which we'll draw here. There are certain galactose and galactose dimer. Now, this organism attaches to this respective dimers, hence this is the providing binding site. After binding to these respective areas, this organism can easily ascend upward and results in cystitis or pyelonephritis as it extends upward. So this thing is important to know, because there are certain things that normally people take in order to inhibit this binding site. So most people are being told that they should take flavonoids or cranberry juice. Now, cranberry juice, how does it affects and prevents UTIs? Now, cranberry juice basically inhibits the binding of these pili, and hence it prevents the urinary infection. If this organism will not bind to that galactose dimers, it will never result in the organ infection itself. So normally female are advised to take plenty of cranberry juice or flavonoids in order to overcome diarrhea. This is actually not inhibiting the disease, because the organisms that are already attached will ascend upwards, but if there are new organisms, they will not attach, because there would be their binding would be inhibited. Chronic infection by E. coli is caused when this organism moves from the gastrointestinal tract into the bloodstream. Now, the protection that is provided inside the bloodstream is that it has a K capsule. Now, K capsule protects it from any phagocytes that are present anywhere in the body, due to which, when they cannot engulf them, it gives them more time to secrete large amount of endotoxin and results in bacteremia. Now, the patient manifests in the form of fever, hypotension, and in severe cases that can also result in disseminated intravascular coagulation. In order to overcome such a dangerous organism, the body itself produces increased number of T helper cells. Specifically T helper type 17. This increases interleukin 17 and helps in prevention against such dangerous organisms. Now, this organism is known to cause meningitis. Now, if this organism goes around the body and it specifically goes up to the brain and infects the meninges, this would result in meningitis. This disease is more prevalent in infants, hence it's known as neonatal meningitis. The process of this organism is that it is grown on blood agar, EMB agar, and McConkey agar. On EMB agar, this organism specifically breeds sheen green colonies. This is the only organism that is a lactose fermenter. So whenever a lactose test is given, this organism gives pinkish color colonies. The organism which converts lactose or ferments lactose also can be checked by conversion of tryptophan into indole. Another thing lactose fermented is that these organisms cannot ferment sorbitol, and this organism is also mobile as it can move. Treatment against infection caused by E. coli are disease dependent. In case of diarrhea, if the diarrhea is watery, normally we do not provide any treatment or any antibiotics because it is self-limiting. So no treatment given. But in case of hemorrhagic diarrhea, we know that ciprofloxacin will further worsen it and result in hemolytic uremic syndrome. So we should prevent using ciprofloxacin in case of hemorrhagic diarrhea in order to overcome this disease. And so we can use other antibiotics, but there is a source that tells us that there should be administration of at least trimethoprim sulfanoxazole that helps in limiting of diarrhea, and loperamide that decreases the gastric motility, also helping in prevention of diarrhea. Diaphragm diarrhea can also be prevented by giving doxycycline, ciprofloxacin, or pepto-bismol. Another disease caused by E. coli is UTIs. Now, UTIs can be prevented by ciprofloxacin or third generation cephalosporin known as ceftriaxone. Now lastly, sepsis. Sepsis can be either prevented by antibiotics such as cefotaxime. Or are cephalosporins, whereas neonatal meningitis is prevented by penicillins such as ampicillin or cefotaxime.